advancing in order to take one more step towards the connection between us. Let's pray that the Creator will help us, and He will always be with us. The kind friends. A society is called that when the people within it are connected by a purpose, and the connection between them is only through the Creator. That is to say, I truly need to picture for myself in the clearest way that if not for godliness that I wish to attain, I would have no connection with you whatsoever. I need to show precisely this to everyone, that I love you because I need you for spirituality and nothing else. This strengthens the group, strengthens its sense of purpose. Again, a society is called that when the people within it are connected by a purpose, and the connection between them is only through the Creator. Meaning I truly need to picture for myself in the clearest way that if not for godliness that I wish to attain, I would have no connection with you whatsoever. I need to show precisely this to everyone, that I love you because I need you for spirituality and for nothing else. That strengthens the group, strengthens its sense of purpose. Words. In order to rise to the next degree, I need to love the friends. How much? According to how much I hate them right now. So I need to opposite, that I need to invert myself and begin to love them. Very simple. In the next degree, after I get through the first degree, in order to get to the second degree, I'll be shown greater hate and repulsion against the friends, and I will have to invert it and rise above it with even greater connection and love, and each time more and more. Again, in order to rise to the next degree, I need to love the friends. How much? According to how much I hate them right now. So opposite, that I need to invert myself and begin to love them very simply in the next degree after I get through the first degree. In order to get to the second degree, I'll be shown greater hate and repulsion against the friends, and I will have to invert it and rise above it with even greater connection and love, and each time more and more. The path of truth requires constant strengthening, since it is against the view of the world. The view of the world is knowing and receiving, whereas their view of Torah is faith and bestow. If one strays from that, he immediately forgets all the work of the path of truth and falls into a world of self-love. Only from a society in the form of they helped every man his friend does each person in the society receive the strength to fight against the view of the world. Again, the path of truth requires constant strengthening, since it is against the view of the world. The view of the world is knowing and receiving, whereas the view of Torah is faith and bestow. If one strays from that, he immediately forgets all the work of the path of truth and falls into a world of self-love. Only from a society in the form of they helped every man his friend does each person in the society receive the strength to fight against the view of the world. Rabash concerning the importance of society. Silent workshop. Let's ask to strengthen ourselves in the 10 on the path of truth during the lesson. Again, let's ask to strengthen ourselves in the 10 on the path of truth during the lesson. Dear friends, in the first part of the lesson, we will learn from a lesson by Raf from March 30, 2003. It is based on the article, What are the 4 qualities of those who go to the seminary in the work? You can find the article in the Writings of Rabash, first volume, page 620 in Hebrew. We will read it together in the 10. We have 27 minutes for that. 10s that finish ahead of time are invited to start the workshop on the main points of the article. What are the 4 qualities of those who go to the seminary in the work? Our sages said there are 4 qualities among those who go to the seminary. He who goes but does not do has the reward of going in his hand. He who does but does not go has the reward of doing in his hands. He who goes and does is aid. He who neither goes nor does is wicked. We should understand the following one. Why does he not say about one who goes and does that he has the reward of going and doing, but merely goes calls him aid? To he says, are qualities among those who go to the seminary, and counts one who neither goes nor does as one of the qualities of those who go to the seminary, but he is not doing anything. So why does he count him as one of the qualities? First, we need to understand the reward for going and the reward for doing. It is known that it is forbidden to work for a reward, as our sages said, serve the wrath, or great one not to receive reward. However, we should understand what is written. Calculate the loss of a mitzvah opposite its reward. Thus, we do need to work for a reward. As it is written, if you learned much Torah, you are given a great reward, and you can trust your employer to pay you for your work. We see that the whole world works for a reward. However, reward does not necessarily mean money, which is a return for the labor. Rather, anything that a person receives in return for his work, some he needs, and which will make him happy, counts as a reward. For this reason, we see that a person might work and toil for money, but one might also pay money for respect. And sometimes a person gives money and respect in order to get his life. In other words, a reward is that which a person needs. As it is written, when man will give all that he has for his life. Thus, what is the reward we can receive in return for observing Torah and mitzvot? It is a teaching with the Creator. As it is written, what does the Lord your God ask of him to adhere unto him? It is written in the essay The Speech for the completion of the Zohar. It is known that the desired purpose of the work in Turinvot is to cleave unto the Creator, as it is written, and to cleave unto him. Adhesion means repentance, since man was created with an inherent desire to receive for himself, which is called separation, due to disparity of form, meaning that because of it a person becomes far from him. In order to receive equivalence of form, called adhesion, he must make great efforts in order to fight against his nature, which is a desire to receive for himself and not to be bestowed. Also, the measure of bestow that a person must achieve is with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. He must not leave any existence for himself, to the extent that a person cannot achieve equivalence of form by himself. Instead, what one must do is only to be as he who comes to purify. In other words, a person should prepare a vessel and a need for the Creator to help him. It is known that there is no light without a kli. It follows that the measure of the labor is that a person must install within him a lack, that he is deficient of equivalence of form, called repentance. He yearns to repent, but he is unable to achieve it by himself. Thus, for what does he pray and labor in order to be rewarded for his labor? Only for yearning for repentance, since through the exertion he puts in order to achieve repentance, it gradually installs in him a lack and a need, by which a person sees that he needs the help of the Creator. At that time, he who comes to purify is aided. Comes true. The Zohar asks, with what is he aided? It answers, with a holy soul. At that time he is rewarded with a soul, as in man's soul will teach him. By this we will understand what we asked. Is it permitted to work and toil in order for the Creator to reward us? Since they said, be as slaves serving the Rav in order not to be rewarded. However, we should understand why it is forbidden to receive reward. It is so because a person must work in order to achieve equivalence of form. If one asks for reward for his work, then he is under the authority of self-reception. This is the opposite of equivalence of form, and why it's forbidden to work for a reward. But one who works and toils and prays for the Creator to reward his labor, what reward is he aiming for? The reward he wants is for the Creator to give him the strength to make all his thoughts and actions be only about bestow upon the Creator and not for his own sake. Thus this reward he's asking brings him to equivalence of form, which is called repentance. When he returns to with the Creator from whom he parted, this is similar to what he says in the book of Sage Fruit. It is known that the soul is part of God above. Before it comes in a body, it is as adhered as a branch to the root. It's also written there that the purpose of the soul when it comes into the body is to be rewarded while clothed in the body, with returning to its root and clinging unto him. We therefore see that a person should try to be rewarded for his work, and the reward is repentance. That is, we do not say that a person should aim while working in the work will be without an intention to be rewarded. On the contrary, a person must always have a clear goal before him. As written in the Zohar, man's prayer should be sufficiently explicit and clear. In other words, a person must know what he needs, and he should try to obtain it through labor and prayer. However, it is known that the prayer must come from the bottom of the heart. In other words, a person must clearly know that alone he cannot achieve repentance, which is to adhere to the Creator in equivalence of form. This awareness comes to a person only when he has done everything he could do. Then it can be said that now he knows for certain that it's out of his hands, and only the Creator can help him. Now we will explain what we asked concerning what our sages said about the 4 qualities among those who go to the seminary. 1. He who goes, but does not do has the reward of going in his hand in the work. This means that he's going on the way to achieve adhesion with the Creator called the way of bestow. However, he sees that he's not doing anything with the aim to bestow. He has the reward of going in his hand, meaning the fact that he wants to walk on the path of truth is already considered a reward. In other words, he should thank the Creator for rewarding him with a desire to walk on the path of truth, while others who engage in mitzvot do not have this desire. They settle for simply working, without considering their intention while engaging in Torah and mitzvot. As in the general public, he who does, but does not go has the reward of doing in his hand. This means that he engages in mitzvot, in everything he can observe in every detail and intricacy. However, he's not working on a path that leads directly to adhesion with the Creator. Instead, he settles for what he does without the intention. He has the reward of doing in his hand. Although he's not going, his reward is that he should be pleased because the Creator has given him a desire and yearning to observe Torah and mitzvot. He does not see any merit in himself compared to other people to whom the Creator did not give this desire and yearning. While he did receive from the Creator this desire, he believes that everything happens through private providence. For this reason, he gives many thanks to the Creator for being able to have a part in it, while the rest of the people were not privileged with this. This is considered that he has the reward of doing in his hand that he thanks the Creator. This degree applies to both the general public and to individuals. That is, those who are advancing on the individual path also have times when they do not want to be among those who are going, so they should be happy with doing. For he who goes and does is aid. We asked why in the first 2 discernments it is written that he has a reward in his hand, while here in the first discernment it does not say that he has a reward in his hand, but rather that he is aided. We should interpret that we must know that whether he goes but does not do or does but does not go, a person still has his own authority. That is, he has still not been rewarded with annulling his self-authority and being incorporated in the Creator, which is called repentance. Our sages said the Torah X exists only in he who puts himself to death over it, who interpreted that he has annulled his self-authority, and then he has only the singular authority, which is the authority of the Creator, while he himself does not even appear in reality. Therefore, in a state of going and doing, it cannot be said that he has a reward in his hand, since he has no hand, that is, he has no self-authority of which we can say that there is he who can receive. This is why they said, meaning he is in a state where he says, mine is yours and yours is yours. There can be reward between 2 authorities, similar to an employee working for an employer. The employer works and pays him for his work. But if a son works for his father and the son is supported by his father, meaning he's still living in his father's house and has no independence, then the son does not receive a salary from his father. However, when the son begins to think that he wants to be independent and not be dependent on his father begins to pay him a salary for his work. The same applies here in the work. When a person is rewarded with going and doing everything for the sake of the Creator, at that time he has no self-authority, but rather he annuls himself before the Creator. This is called adhesion and equivalence of form, and it is called repentance. At that time it cannot be said that he has a reward in his hand, because he has no hand to buy, meaning his own authority. This is why they did not say reward in his hand, but said that he's regarded as aid. Now we will explain what we asked when he says 4 qualities among those who go to the seminary, and one of them is he who neither go nor goes nor does. If he does not do anything, why is it regarded among the 4 qualities of those who go to the seminary? It is known that when a person wants to work on the path to achieve the with the Creator, which is equivalence of form the body object to everything. He might come to a state where he feels that he has come to the worst loneliness, meaning he sees that he is not going, meaning he's not advancing and bestow, and he's not doing either, meaning he's unable to do good deeds, and anything he does requires tremendous efforts, meaning he sees that, meaning this now he sees that he's worse than when he began to work on the path of bestow. Previously, he was very happy when he was doing good deeds and especially during prayer, but now he has come to such a loneliness that it's very difficult for him to pray. That is all the things he would do with joy before he began to work on bestow. Now he sees them as lowly. Now he feels the meaning of in the dust, meaning that all the sacred things that have the form of dust, namely they taste like dust. Every little thing he does is unbearably hard because it has lost its value. Thus now he sees that he has regressed, meaning he is neither going nor doing. It's about this that our sages said that he is wicked. However, the question is, why has he come to this state after all the efforts he has made? Because he wanted to walk on the path of truth, according to what Balaam said, the time of answering the prayer for man to receive permission to enter the king's palace so that he will bring him closer to him. Then he will be rewarded with the Creator, is specifically when a person sees that he is lost and powerless to do anything. At that time a person gives a real prayer. Since he sees that he is simply wicked, that is, he has no grip on kasher. For this reason, when a person comes into a descent, he should not be startled and escape the campaign. On the contrary, this is the time to make a heartfelt prayer. In this regard, we should interpret what our sages said. Israel are holy. Some want and do not have. Rashi interprets that some want to please others with what he has, but is unable to, and from him I do not want to enjoy. Some have and do not want. Rashi interprets that he has the ability, but does not want to delight others. So said Rabbi. The question is, why is the one who has, but does not want to give others, regarded as holy? The Tovot explains, he who has, but does not want, even so they are called holy, for he invites his friend to eat at his place. Because of shame, we should interpret, Israel are holier in the work. There is he who wants to work in order to bestow, but does not have. When he considers his actions, he sees that he is immersed in self-love and cannot do anything in order to bestow. He is called holy because he is walking on the path of truth. Although he sees that he is regressing, he still clings to the path of truth. In the end, he will touch the truth, meaning that he is truly in adhesion with the Creator, because the most important are the vessels called desire, and since he wants to achieve, he will be rewarded. It is as Balaam said about what is written will give wisdom to the wise. He asked, it should have said will give wisdom to the fools. However, wise is he who desires wisdom. Then he has a vessel in which to bestow, but fools have no desire for wisdom whatsoever. As it is written, the fool has no desire for understanding. It follows that one who wants to walk on the path of Kedusha is called holy. Holy means, as it is written, you will be holy, which means that you will retire from self-reception. For this reason, he is holy. This is the meaning of the words Israel are holy. There is he who wants, but does not have, and there are those who have, but do not want. This means that he has mitzvot and good deeds, but he does not want to walk on the path that leads to in order to bestow. Instead he settles for lishma. He too is called holy since the act is fine, and he has nothing to add in actions. Rash explains to us the matter of the reward. What reward a person wants to receive from yearning to be in adhesion with the Creator. So the reward is ultimately to reach a prayer that the Creator will help him, that he understands that he is immersed in self-love, and only if he comes to connection with the Creator, that's the reward he sees. Here he also says some point that even if he can do nothing in order to bestow, he is still called holy because he's walking on the path of truth, meaning the whole progress is a kind of scrutiny from the reward that is familiar from this world all the way to the spiritual reward. I might repeat what I said before, that it is important to aim for reward, even though many times we say that the reward is not important. but we should know for what purpose, for performing any action. What is it that we want to reach? And according to this, we should also plan our actions. Here, he's talking about how a person needs to reach true prayer when it comes to a descent. He shouldn't be overwhelmed and flee the battle. He should feel like he's doing everything he can and he's not entering the king's palace. That's the moment to raise a true prayer from the heart. And what we do, ultimately, is to reach that prayer that we will really need to bestow upon the Creator, that all our actions will be for the sake of heaven. I found this paragraph, which was kind of the summary of the article for me. It is known that is forbidden to work for reward of sages. Said Sir Rav the Great One, not in order to receive reward, yet we need to understand what it means. It is also says that you should calculate the loss of a mitzvah opposite its reward. Thus, we do need to work for reward, as it is written, if you learned much Torah, you given a great reward, and you can trust your employer to pay you for your reward. Yeah, again, I'll say that the whole article, I think we have to be thankful for every connection. We have to spirituality, even just the reward of walking when you come and you have no strength, no nothing, only in action or intention, whatever good thing we should be thankful for it. We will go to a lesson from March 30, 2003. We heard an article from Volume 5 in the Ranks of the Letter. What are the four qualities in those who go to the seminary in a work? Those who go to the seminary, meaning those who advance, not those who are just on the street, meaning outside of the advancement towards the purpose of creation. Either they perform the mitzvot of people who are educated like that, without any intention to reach the goal, or they don't even do that, but rather, those who are going towards the seminary, they have four qualities, also according to the state that each one is in his own state. It could be walking, it could be standing or sitting or lying down. There are many states in the work, but whichever way you look at it, it's those who go to the seminary. What does it mean? Seminary, those who demand a revelation of godliness, because the purpose of creation is the revelation of his godliness to his creations in this world. Are there any questions? I didn't understand the last paragraph. What does it mean, someone who has the ability to bestow, but he doesn't want to bestow, and that it means he only does deeds? What does it mean? It's the very last paragraph, the last article paragraph. It follows that he who wants to walk on the path of Kajuker is called holy. That he just wants. He didn't yet achieve the holiness itself. But the person is called according to what he earns for. Why, maybe he won't reach it, but if he yearns for it, he will reach it for sure, because the Creator does according to the person's yearning. The deed is never in the hands of the person, but the desire to achieve the goal. This is in man's hand, and the realization already comes from above. Holy means, as it is written, you will be holy, which means that you will be separated. Separated from what? For an self-reception. For this reason he is holy, because he wants to reach it. This is the meaning of the words Israel are holy. What does it mean that they want to retire from self-reception? There is he who wants, but does not have, and there is this who has, but does not want. This means that he has mitzvah and good deeds, but he does not want to walk on the path that leads to, in order to bestow. Instead he settles for Lishma, not for her sake. He too is called holy. Why? Since in the act he's fine and he has nothing to add in the actions. Later on with the actions, the intentions will also come. Well, let's say I use my society, and in the meantime I don't have any correct intention in my heart, but I do use the society and the books and the study and the deeds and all kinds of things that they will bring me the right intention. So am I called holy, or am I called Israel, or not? I don't fall into your society. I just have some desire to reach the goal. My goal is not to get rid of the will to receive and reach restore, for not that for certain. No. My goal is to reach something, meaning to receive something more and to acquire it. You're saying holiness, eternity. I'm willing, bring it. So am I called holy according to my desires, according to my thoughts? No. Holy means, at least if I want Kadasher, holiness, I don't want it. But I begin with the desire that I have. I can't do anything about the desire, so I Use the society. They say you need to bow down before the friends. You need to do things for them. Buy yourself a friend, meaning you have to invest in him and he also all of them like. This whole society begins to influence you with good things by doing an action. Without any intention, without any exalted things, I start working in action. But what does it mean in action? I know that they have something that I don't. Right, I nevertheless want to receive from them, not just to serve them, give them a cup of coffee, that through this cup of coffee, I want something from them. I have certain things that are a bit higher. So already, instead of my current desire and my intentions, I get from them something that is higher, and I already want that sacred goal, and then already I'm called Israel and holy. So according to my previous action, when I didn't have such a thought and such an intention, I'm also nevertheless called holy. Why? Because at least in the deed, in what I have, I'm walking, I'm advancing. We cannot judge a person according to what he is right now in each and every state, because whatever he has is what he received from the heavens, but only according to the yearning. But if I do yearn, and instead of an ascent I receive a descent, and it's also forbidden to judge me. This is what I was given from above. Maybe I need to descend. I don't know those calculations. Therefore, we don't judge according to the deed, meaning according to the state, ever, but only according to one's direction, because the state is established from above each time. Yeah, he writes. In page 312 he writes, in the paragraph, and because of that, when a person comes to a descent, not be overwhelmed and flee the battle. On the contrary, then is the real time to raise a true prayer from the bottom of their heart. What kind of advice is this? If I could bring out a true demand from the bottom of the heart, I wouldn't call it a descent. I don't know how you the term an ascent or descent. Descents mean that I am further away from the Creator, and descent is when I rise towards Him, right? So what does it mean? A descent, that I see my state, how my vessels are more corporeal, my desires are worse, and my spirit is accordingly. If I measure and see myself this way, then it is a time for a prayer. But rather, when can I ask? When I'm uplifted, when I'm in a state of descent. You have no greatness of the Creator. You have nothing from Him. On the contrary, no. Why? I feel myself that I'm declining, but I can feel Him that He is higher and strong. Let's say when we say that a person who goes to exile, his Rav is exiled with him. All those things means that when I descend, everything descends with me. So, how can I? This is also a type of a descent. So how can I make sure they live a point outside of me that stays high when I descend? Even if I put, let's say, the Creator into the society or something outside of me, when I descend, everything descends with me. I can't hold on to something outside of me is high. So how can I build a true prayer? But rather, when can you build a true prayer? I don't know, maybe when I come out of the descent or see myself on the way there, and then when I'm there, what can I do? So if you're on the lowest point, you can't do anything in a descent. In the bottommost point, a person has no strength to do anything. He needs to go through this point as if through inertia. How do you say it? Inertia. You know what it is. With momentum. With momentum. Yeah. So how do I know that I don't stay in this point? This point doesn't depend on time. How do I know that I don't get stuck in it for 2 days or 3 or 4 or a week or 2? So, you need to try during the descent. When you cannot pray, you can do something. If you can't do anything, well, you must search for some means. Even when I, let's say, work with the books with all kinds of things, there are times when I cannot write, so I make corrections already on texts that are ready. It's something for work that is more silly. If I can work on the text, then I do questions and answers. If not, that then I go to something that is unrelated to writing. You understand all kinds of things, but always try to find a means. Hold on to whatever means you can, but any means that you take, if by that you want to advance, it is called a career. Yes, it's possible to draw strength from the society. If you're in a descent and you can't do anything, that's one of the reasons why there is a society, that one who's in a descent can draw strength. But if I'm in such a descent that I'm tired of this society, I can't look at their faces. I don't believe there is anything in them, and in general, I don't even want to receive anything from them in despair, in lack of strength, lack of hope in a state that is so, that is simply considered dead right. So, where do I go? How can I demand there is nothing so? In such a state, there is such a state, where you go through it with momentum, and here also we need to rely on the society, that's it. There is a commandment that you need to bury the dead. So there are friends who need to come to him and help him. A prisoner cannot save himself from imprisonment. This is impossible. Then that's the society. So in the society first of all, there need to be times meaning that they determine for themselves all kinds of changes in their functioning in deeds, and all kinds of things. So with someone who is, it doesn't matter in what form, what state, but they are twice a week. Let's say there is some meal once a week. There's something else, so we shake everyone, and that helps to replace the state if we can't see and relate personally to people who fall in such a way that we see that they're falling. Can there be a state where I hurt society? I lower the society because now I say, can't I do something small that I can't do more than that, and then friends look at me from outside, and that would hurt their impression. Will I not cause harm to the society in this? If a person is going through true states, meaning as a result of his yearning for his goal, there is no state in him that could harm others. He's always adding to others, because the states do not depend on us, and also in the bad states we can share with others and add to them. I don't want to say that you should be proud that you're going through some bad state, and if you are connected to a friend shouldn't go through that, say through that state, and there are all kinds of accumulations in that also. Yes, talks a lot about self-annulment here. What is self-annulment in our state? What is self-annulment in our state? Annulment means is that I do not make any calculations for myself, right? Well, as much as you're capable of it, do it. That's what it means in your state. What does it mean to not make any calculation about myself? That the profit will not come directly to me, but a person lies to himself. If you lie, that's not too bad, but rather, you're not going to lie. You somehow do. Try to make the calculation. What's an example that I don't make a calculation for myself in this, for the benefit of the society? Of course, inside there's self-benefit, but good. Let's say we sometimes an example where we say like are an elite squad that is now chasing some target and everyone helps the other, but if someone is running slower or delaying everyone, then he's like a overweight dead weight, he's preventing those. The question is, can there be a state where you're hurting and it's because of you and then you become more hurt? This is true. So what? So I'm asking, what are we doing in such a state? You were here yesterday. Yeah, we talked about it. Shappy, remind him what happened yesterday. Oh, you don't want to go back to that? Okay. Also writes about that indeed. People who do not contribute to the society from all of their hearts, not truly working for the society with devotion, they are as a burden on the society. Now the question is, where is the society? Where is the burden? People are sitting here now, but also maybe hardly belong. So we don't just take people from the audience, some people from the public as a society, but that there's a group and it's going. Who is the group? Whoever wants to be in it, and the others come to study, to participate a party, quarter as much as they can. This is also respected. It's also special. How many people do you have like that in the world? For each and everyone, we truly need to, make calculation. If he truly wants to be in this group, that is advancing, one has to make a calculation. How much is he contributing? Because this is actually his advancement. I don't understand the difference between going and doing. What it says there in the article, I don't understand which part. What part you don't understand? Now we shall explain what we asked regarding what our sages said. The 4 qualities in the people of the temple. One who goes and does not do, the reward of walking is in his hand. So he has reward for walking in the work. This means that he is going on the way to achieve dakat with the Creator, called the way of bestow, to bestow more meaning for the Creator. That's what he seemingly wants. However, he sees that he's not doing anything with the aim to bestow, meaning he's going but he's not doing, he's still not capable of doing, and he sees it. He has the reward of going in his hand, meaning that the one who wants to go on the path of truth, the fact that he wants to walk on the path of truth is already considered a reward. In other words, he should thank the Creator for rewarding him with a desire to walk on the path of truth, while others who engage in mitzvot without going without, really yearning to reach bestow even a little bit, he also doesn't. He's just doing this unknowingly. Do not have they settle for simply working. What's simply working? Just opening the book, studying with no purpose, no intention. That's close, that's connected to the Creator, without considering their intention while engaging in Hanit, as is the general public meaning to be connected to or part of all of Israel. Israel meaning straight to the Creator. So this is called he has the reward of going in his hand. What's unclear? That's clear. What's not? Okay. Item 2. All right. He who does, but does not go has the reward of doing in his hand. There it was the reward for going here for doing. The deed that he's talking about is, or it's a deed of bestow. So I don't exactly understand where is the difference between going and doing. Meaning, in going doesn't mean that he's on a way to achieve adhesion. He sees that he's not going towards bestow, and if he will do it means that he's working, means he has some pull forward. He thinks his next state is going to be closer to the Creator, meaning more bestowing. So he has an intention to reach bestow, somewhat somehow. That means he's going, that he intends, that there are two states here, the present state and the next state, and he's in between already going, moving from one to the other. That's his tendency. That's why he's called walking or going, and the other one as if sitting and doing, like to come here and just sit. He's given the possibility. That's called an action still, meaning he doesn't have a yearning to reach something like bestow the Creator. He can say just words, but on the inside it doesn't come, or that's it. No questions. You already forgot? Yeah. No, yeah. Last question. Now he speaks here about a state called a follower. Yes, he calls it one who goes and does. What is his state? But his is not light. From vision or breast right refers to the quality of light, if that's where the word comes from. Where does that come from, that word? But what is this addition of doing to the going, that he goes and does, that he's doing the actions to advance in him by himself to the quality of bestow, to acquire the quality of bestow by his own strength. This is called. So it's about the intentions, or intentions and actions together. Is there any connection here to the matter of the blessing when we wash our hands with water? Washing the hands in water, he says it's holy. What they say about washing the hands, that if aid has no hand, meaning light of the water, is this related to the washing of the hands, or all right? Hands are called vessels of reception. A person doesn't want to have vessels of reception, or that the vessels of reception will be sanctified. Okay, so it's a correction called washing the hands, meaning that he takes the light off and uses it to correct the vessels of reception. Then he's ready to receive in order to bestow, and that's the correction. That's it. Let's share our impressions from the lesson, and what do we take from that for implementation in the 10-6 minutes. Rav said in the beginning that it's hard to measure a person according to the states he goes through. You can go through all kinds of descents on the path, and what we should pay attention to is mostly the longing, and only by the longing we measure, we judge, and not by the state, because the state is something he received from above. And after that, in the discussion about the descent, he said we have to go through it quickly, like inertia of sorts. Yes, to continue on, and that one who wants to walk on the path of truth, that's already a reward even if he doesn't succeed, but still he should be grateful that he has an opportunity to be on the path of truth. Ra also talked about annulment. That annulment means that he doesn't make any calculations for himself. This is what it means, that he and Al and the Prophet won't come directly to himself. Was asked to give an example. He said the example is to make a calculation for the benefit of the society, even though there also in the beginning there is self-calculation, but still it's already advancement. Yeah, he spoke about a sense, in the sense that the sense are states where a person is farther from the Creator. A sense is when he's closer to the Creator, and that during the descent a person cannot pray. And in these states, we should look for all kinds of employ. He said, for example, that he's working on a book, writing questions and answers and doing things like that. Crowd talked about the fact that from the group there is the public, there the friends in a group. Who's considered the friend in the group? One who wants to be a friend in the group, that he wants to do everything in order to belong. Yeah. Friend said it doesn't matter in what state in the friend is in, if he's on the path he should do the maximum in his state, even in bad states. We heard that he can still benefit society. Times are very important to set the times that we have, like meals, like our lessons, of course, Zoom meetings. That really changes states for the friends, because it's not from the work, and when that can make things change in general. I heard Rav say the following: if he yearns, then surely he will get there, because the Creator operates according to the yearning of the person. The deed is never in the hands of the person, but the desire to achieve the goal. This is in man's hands, and the realization comes from above. So let's pray to yearn and let the Creator do the work. We have to see in all the states that the friends go through as something that contributes to the group, even if a person thinks he's in a descent and he's far. If these states come from the same longing, then by that he advances the whole group. It's as if there needs to be some special attitude of each friend to everyone else's states. The person himself doesn't control the state that he receives, but in his response, if his longing and yearning and desire are noticeable, then he can advance the whole group. There was also the example of an elite squad, where if somebody's running slowly, he's a burden on the group. And so Ra was asked, what does it mean to be a burden in our society? How do you check that? And he said that one who does not invest all of himself in the society, he's a burden. And there's also a question, what does it mean a society? It's not every person sitting here. The society is those who invest. Yeah, there is also a matter that even if a person was just given an opportunity to come here and sit, let's say, and even though he cannot activate intentions, that already is a gift from above, and we should try to get the most out of that. And this is what we call the reward of going in his hands. Talked about the times that a person should always have something to do at any time, and if he cannot learn, then he should work with texts. Look for something to translate, something to do, and in this way bring himself out of his situation. We will now study from a test lesson with Rabash. We will read from the study of the Tens wrote second volume part 5. In Hebrew, it's page 326, inner light item 40. You need to remember beginning with since the vessel of was born, from the inversion of the face. First, we will read item 40, in light. Afterwards the light returns to being, expanding in the ket, and then both and ascend because of the desire they have. Then you find that there is a great distance between the suns and the light of Gar, for there are two distances between them, and in which there is no light. Hence at that time the light of rises to Biner, and is called not expanding. In that state the vessel of turns its interior and gives the 6 lights below. In Goar, I see Biner in the vessel of HMA, but which light shines there? The 2 inclusive lights are only, and the property of is considered at its level as posterior. In the first stage we learned that phase 2, that there was a coupling in the vessel of on 2 beds, and it gave the level that emerged to be, which the Rec calls a great illumination. Alone, it had not yet given phase 1 to her. The question arises, what did it give her? Was there a turning of the interior here, or not? What is the turning of the interior? First, there was a turning of the interior from the vessel of fed phase 3. When it had phase 3, it could not bestow to the vessel of Biner. The vessel of Biner does not have phase 3, only phase 2. Therefore, we learned that first there was a refinement from phase 3 of in the vessel of HMA, and it became 2 bets, and afterwards it gave Biner its light. Now the question arises, what light did it give to Biner? Still the light of, or not? There's a reason to say that there is. Still Y has not yet been refined from phase 2 to phase 1, and its main level is phase 2. On the other hand, we learn he does not clarify. He only says the level that it received is vac. He gives one reason why it's called vac. The level that emerged between the upper and the lower is called vac. Why? I don't know why. What is difficult for me, we always speak about the upper, making a coupling for the sake of the lower. Who says it gives vac? The coupling for the sake of the lower. It gives the entire degree for the sake of the lower. Why does it give to vac? Indeed, this is what he says. Do you remember here on page 326 the passage, beginning with you must know? So he says, you must remember that the light of, I got confused the passage beginning. You must remember, so the phase 2, that gives to, is considered vac of. Why? So he says, since he is born through the turning of the interior of the vessel of, he does not explain to us what this is. The turning of the interior of the vessel of. Here the simple meaning is the turning of the interior of the vessel of. Previously it was phase 3, now phase 2, but the question arises, is there still in phase 2 or not? Certainly, yes, phase 2 has not yet been refined. If so, the question arises, what does it mean that it turned its interior? It's to say it turned its interior because it gave, or shall we say it desired. Therefore, let's see further. You should also know that this is the root of Israel's sabers in the world of. There is yet another second light there, which is the record of the vessel of Bener, which is there from the time of the first expansion. So he says, that record is the phase of the female that exists in the vessel of Bener. So he says no, that she is the roots of all the phases of in all the. However, this light that now bestowed upon is considered a son and offspring. This belonged to further keep in mind the relationship between the zone in the vessel of with the zone in the vessel of Benam. Now he returns to the beginning, since in the truth they are light of the same level of Benam. That is that two bets emerged. However, zone of Bener relate to zone of Asut relate to upper above. Their suit are only the vac of above themselves, although both are considered discerned as one level of coarseness of phase 2. That is this level that emerged on 2 bits. From this you understand that the primary division of above suit into 2 parts of fame it should be galvac is only to engender the catnut of the 7. Low field what's written here. This is because it is impossible for the vessel of to bestow the light of, which is the phase of vac without gal, if not through the posterior of HMA. Hence it turns its interior backwards, and this inversion divides the vessel of 2, where the interior remains in its place. That is one can explain as we explained, then that the meaning is the vase 2 remains in its place and it has and, of which turned its interior backward, giving light of V without G. That is although it has since phase 2 has not yet been defined that. Nevertheless bestows for the sake of desires. So we have already learned where Bener has from before it has phase 1, do not forget, and afterwards we learn that phase 2 is also refined to phase 1, and then even has no. If I learn it this way, it can be explained thus. And what is difficult, that it itself has phase 2, only to bestow to whom? To be not. It turns its interior. It turns out, accordingly, that I will learn turning of the interior not necessarily from phase 3 to phase 2. One explanation is from phase 2-3 to phase 2. The second is that it has, and the text that does not imply this only to date compels us reading. It is an interpretation not explicitly written. However, in order to engender good loot, that is here was to engender vac to engender the good of here it's difficult. We learned good loot that this was specifically after the second restriction. Before the second restriction the matter of didn't exist. He gives here the root how it comes. We do not learn which 2 qualities only, the world of. However, in order to engender good of, meaning they belong to those 5, the vessel of must return its interior upward once more as in the beginning. What is the meaning? Then it's considered that son of Bener, and said of, which were divided into G and vac due to the inversion of the interior of. Now that revoked that inversion of the interior of, there is no longer bestow of God and bestow of vac in the vessel of. What is the meaning? There's no longer bestow in the bestowing vac in the vessel of. There's 2 qualities. When are there 2 bestows, I am asking? In that turns out that he learns that remained in G and gave in the bestow of vac, and now this is not so only what? So they return and rise to zone who bener, and again become one. Once more know that this matter applies also in. This is simple here. This is difficult. If so, what do we need to learn here? Look further down at the passage, beginning what has been explained, and all that has been explained. You will thoroughly understand the order of the birth of the light of Enlot. Only what happened. It returned to being, not expanding in, and then expanding in, that the light of that was in descended to, and then the 7 children that are in. Bener are great are big. Why? They're sma. He says then Bener rises to. Why? Because the yearning she had to cleave with her, and the 7 lights descend and are given to this is also complicated. So he explains. Here it implies 2 things. 1. When was refined from phase 2 to phase 1, and gave phase 1 to the vessel of Bener. Then I understand. That has no, so the time it gave phase 1. This is, but who compelled it? To say that at the time it gave the level of phase 2 to be known. There was also a turning of the interior from phase 3 to phase 2. One must say. He explicitly acknowledges this that he gave. He says it explicitly. He says back, but what causes there to be turning of the interior? From here it implies that he says there are 2 qualities in the passage with beginning of however, now revoked that inversion of the interior. There's no longer bestow and bestow in the vessel of. What does it mean? About which state is it said? When do I bestow in the, when it gave from phase 2 to phase 1? Or am I saying when he gave the 2 phase 2s? There's no correct answer here. He also means to say that the 2 bets also gave, meaning the turning of the interior that gave the illumination alone. Phase 2 has not been refined yet. We also learned that what did we not receive only vac, in a light not expanding in Keter, and then it is expanding in. What is the meaning not expanding in Keter? Since the male and female of the light of Ket were refined, phase 4 over 3 to phase 3 over 2, then the posterior were cancelled, the which bestows only was already cancelled. Phase 4 of clothing shines now, meaning that the light of that it has belongs to phase 4, which would weaken it, so necessarily, and they bestowed the light of Bener to the vessel of the level of Bener, but there is HMA there, and they are expanding in, and the interior of return to its place as in the beginning. It is also expanding in Bener when there is expanding in it is also expanding in. But now why? Because of the there, the meaning that turns her anterior downward gave the male and female of Bener to the vessel of Bener is expanding in Bener. He explains the reason because of the there, in order to correct and lower it to its vessel. If so, what does he explain as? Like what we learned phase 1 to say it, in order, but he explains there, it's difficult. We'll see that later. Then expanding in for then already has good loot, and was also refined. Bad descends to its place when it is further refined. Here we need to learn 2 things. 1. The turning of the interior was for the sake of the, and also descended to its place in order to be refined from phase 2 to phase 1 for the sake of, so it's 2 things. Expanding in for then descends to its place through the refinement of phase 2. In the vessel phase 1 this is the phase of light of the 5 that belonged to. At that time the light of descends to its vessel. It's expanding in and the interior returns to its place and then not expanding in. Why? Because sends with the meaning is the whole light of is a posterior and the vac of the light of when there is O, the buck rises innate. Since the interior of returned to its place, the posterior that was in var was cancelled and was incorporated once more in the interior of the light of in that state. The vessel of Quar turns to its anterior downward once more. Why? Just as it rose upward and received as anterior. Likewise what remained of it was also interior also, and gives the light of the illumination of in the illumination of as above, and this is what he says here, and it is expanding in. Why? Why not expanding in? For the same reason he divides into, and he says they are divided in the into interior, and posterior is called posterior, and when there is interior there is connects to, but when there is no then rises in its name, and likewise in there it is also divided, and interior of God of, and when there is, and does not rise its name and connects with, and likewise, the self has, also interior and posterior, when has interior rises. We'll move to the next part of the lesson, building a spiritual society. Shalom. Hello dear friends. We are 7 weeks from today, we will be convening into a convention of tens. That puts the 10 front and centre. It's a first of its kind congress, a trailblazing congress that places us in the most important thing, the most pivotal, central thing in our life. The 10, the origin of everything, and the rebuild, the connection, the deficiency, the request of prayer. There is our life. We are going to convene together for a few days in a very special way that we will talk about in a minute. And today we're launching the preparation. We've just been through Passover and many other things we've been through here. Finally, we are focusing on the preparation for this, and this is what we will do in the coming hour. We'll scrutinize the importance of the gathering, its goals, and we will begin to work practically how H10 wants to come to the Congress, under what framework, what content, what inner preparation. But before that, in clip number 2 that we're going to watch now, Rabash directs us precisely there. It's a special, except we found in the archive. Who have never heard it here, talks about the 10, not only about the quantity, but about the inequality of the connection, about the deficiency that we come with. That in clip number 2. I want to tell you what's written there, that the quality. Also in this world, what do we see? I think that a kilo of gold is worth more than a ton of rocks. No, and how much? How much ton is that? At 000 kilo, and this is only 1 kilo. So what's more important? If you want to know what quality or quantity is, so that's what's written. It's good a bit in intention than a lot without intention. That's already a difference between quantity and quality. That's why you have both of them. This article, that in every 10 they can, well, that's an article that we learned at 10 people, that the divinity that dwells between them and spirituality. We have to explain, as I said once, that at the time that the Creator enters the synagogue and does not find 10 people, so he's angry. Why did I come, and there is no person? I asked before that. Should those 9 people wait outside and not enter the synagogue until they would be 10, otherwise the Creator would be angry? Why don't we see that? Did you understand the question? Why did I come, and there was no person? Where is that proof that there should have been 10? For that reason, according to what we learn, 10 is called Mal, meaning the kingdom of heaven, and the Creator enters the synagogue and doesn't find a 10 there. He doesn't find anyone who has the kingdom of heaven, and he gets angry. Why? Because I came and there was no person. What does that mean? Everyone are beasts. And he writes that, says you are my her, and you are called Adam, and not the nations of the world. What's you? Those who have the kingdom of heaven are called Adam. If they don't have it, it's still not a person. That's what explained what I came, and there was no person, because nobody's concerned about the kingdom of heaven, and in every 10 that can dwell, that if he has the kingdom of heaven, the Creator that can. Well, simply we learn that in every 10 there's Amen. So that's a corporeal hint. So there should be 10. Why? You need specifically 10 to aim to the kingdom of heaven. So if I come and there's no person, there's no one lacking what you really need. What does everyone lacking that comes to the synagogue lacking the kingdom of heaven? That's what he came to pray for. That's what he feels pain. That's the only thing he's concerned about. There's more to could be concerned about. Yeah, there's more to be concerned about. So regarding the purpose of the Congress, we already said several times that the purpose is the revelation of the Creator. We understand that the force we so yearn to reveal is revealed in the 10 and all the other states and congresses. We do are only in order to intensify that feeling. So true, there's a congress we do here in Israel, the original congresses, but to intensify we first have to reveal, and the revelation is only in the 10 we know. And it's good that we now have what, a month and a half, 7 weeks. And now we have a preparation. It's clear to us that without the preparation, nothing will. So we should use the states that capitalists have already arranged for us, which are, we have independent state, we have the 33 of Omar, and we have, in these states I'm talking about inner states, we can use them as an organization, and each 10 should think how it uses these points, these specific days along the way. Because what do we do until the revelation of that connection with the Creator? We are revealing more and more our mutual dependence on the 10. So if we look at the day of independence, it may be a paradox, but it turns out that the independence is actually when we begin to feel dependent on each other. And then the count. What do we do during that? We try to tighten the connection between us and reveal each time that we cannot, and end up in lager, which is a state that symbolizes a turning point when a person gives up on his own strength and understands that he's dependent on his friends. His own revelation of godliness depends on others. So bar represents that, and then of course the holiday of is mutual responsibility. So absolute dependence. So before this revelation, behind the words, the revelation of the Creator and intent, we understand that we have to reveal the mutual responsibility, and we have to use all those states, and this is what we will do. Yes, friends. So we heard that when the Creator comes to the synagogue and he doesn't find a person, so he's angry, and we want him to find a person. We're here in the synagogue. We came to demand. We're starting a process of preparation. 7 weeks. But we also have very positive records from all kinds of actions we already did in the past. In the center of the 10 Congress, there's one main thing. The attempt to gather internally and physically as a 10 for a certain essential time to put a concentrated effort and to attain a degree of connection we didn't have before. That's the heart of the Congress. That's what we want to deal with. And the special thing about it is that all 10s in the world will do it at the same time. It's right that not everybody will be able to meet physically. Part of the 10s, the Creator created conditions that they're far from each other, so they'll be gathering virtually. But that will be their essential gathering in order to attain the goal only virtually. But whoever can, must, I think must, yes, must. So we want to hear from their experience of 10s that have already done this. We want to hear about the process they went through. What was so special about this gathering? Right, it wasn't as a 10s Congress. They did it separately, but the experience was similar. So we want to incorporate from all this experience that 10s have in all kinds of areas. So first, our beloved friends from Moscow 7, that they'll tell us about the gathering. But before, we'll see clip number 1, which speaks about the importance of the gathering. Then we'll go to Moscow 7. Besides the joy and excitement of physical gathering, how is physical gathering preferable to virtual gathering? Physical gathering is still because we're in a corporeal world, and except for corporeal inspiration from one another, we don't have anything to determine. The rest is the Creator determining from his upper concealed degree. That's why we need to do what we need to do. I remember as much as Labash would give such a gathering great importance, and even though I still can't attain this importance as he felt, but still, it left a great impression, and I think it's very worth doing, right? So even if we still don't have the same importance but if it left an impression on it, should leave an impression on us. So let's go to Moscow 7 and hear what was so special about their physical gathering. Moscow 7. Yes, friends. Thank you for the opportunity. We'll try and share an impressions. They're a lot. We as Moscow 7 have gathered 5 times, every few months, every season. We try and meet winter or in the fall. So we had all kinds of formats, 36 hours, 46 hours, 24 hours. We tried all kinds. We've concentrated not only on us, but also friends from different cities used to and the place. We have a friend who is a home in a village area. He let us be at his place. There are great conditions there, so we could also have meals there and take trips according to the weather. And also, of course, the preparation is what really made this event and included all the friends in it. Whoever has all kinds of difficulties with certain things, there's always something they can do. Let's say prepare a fire for the friends. These events are like a magnetic force that pulls the friends to it. We disconnect from the external world for some time and exert ourselves, dedicate ourselves to the connection between us. It's an opportunity for us to scrutinize the most important questions that usually we don't have the time or the energy to do it. And in these meetings, we learn to remove what interferes with the connection between us. We remove all the objections that emerge in us and learn to annul, because without any cannot be in mutual connection between us that is complete and whole. When we are in such a close format, and the atmosphere in those meetings enables us to open to new emotional connections between us, you suddenly discover the friend in ways you'd never see him. He seemed like a porcupine kind of. So when he suddenly discovered that he is sensitive and open, and as a result the tin gets a lot of strength. Reinforcement. So in these states like mutual responsibility, we are kind of being cooked in one pot. It creates something that is one out of us, and then we're more equal with each other, in equivalence with each other and with our goal. I'll add one more thing, that every few months when we gather, so sometimes it has to be postponed, and we feel that 3 months have gone by, and we feel that we have to meet, and then we have to wait another month. So it's really burning inside. So it became a habit already. I just wanted to share that, passing back to you. Thank you. Moscow 7 and PT2 also had a chance to do it, so we want to hear them. Got it? Please, dear friends. So it's a very, very important action. We did it in our 10, and as we read in the first part, that there's no meaning for us to connect if we don't have a goal. We don't need this connection if not the goal. So that's how it starts. We start scrutinizing what is our connection, and then you have said that only if the whole 10 goes, then we can go. Afterwards the preparation starts, and what we want to scrutinize, what is this? For we choose, and excerpts, and start building questions how to reach it, and then the preparation starts even more than a month and a half. Even for 3 months, we start preparing. We know the date, and we start working. We put together a team in the 10 that is in charge of excerpts and questions, and we start preparing. Then we have to drive, so we were in the north a few times. It can take up to 3-hour drive, and the whole 3 hours we're in workshops. We read excerpts. What for? We all answer, and then we come to a state that we reach the place, and then at the place we don't do anything without this purpose, without this connection, and it's very important that we do it together, and then it's expressed in anything either. We barbecue, or if we go to the beach. When we went to the beach, we all stood in a circle and sang songs, BB songs, and everybody was looking at us. What's going on here? It's a different world. What friends? What are they doing here? So we've also bestowed around us. I remember we search for a place where we can be together. So together, that's exactly the internal place, the connection in the 10. Then when we come back, we're not the same 10 anymore. We're 10. At inside we have the Creator, and each one is together. Each one feels his place in the tent. It's very important that we all do this exercise, friends. It's so important to prepare, and David will keep going. Yeah, to continue, Gaddy. Every minute we went on this trip of the 10. We were working the whole time. We were reading excerpts and did workshops until we came there, and that day gave us as a 10, like and prolonged clarification, scrutiny. So first of all, you see the friends in a very personal way. You sit with them in lessons, you workshop with them, but suddenly you are with the friends for 24 hours. You sleep with them, you eat with them, you do everything with them, and you suddenly feel the friend more deeply. And through these days, for example, in the last time we built the whole time the connection the whole time, and at the end we had to carry it out, this connection. So we went in a final meal, and as what are we doing? Committed that one day all 15 friends would come to the morning lesson, and as a result more friends made a covenant with each other that they are responsible for each other, that every day they'll come to the lesson, and it was created automatically because you have such an ingathering in this connection for 24 hours. It creates that force that connection, and it leaves an impression for months later. In the 10, it's a gift for every 10. It's a must to use it. Thank you. Another 10 that always gives. An example are New York 2. Let's hear you about your gatherings. What did you learn from them, please? Yes, dear brothers. We're always excited about these gatherings because they completely change the whole feeling in the tent. We try to do it at least once a month, sometimes every 2 months, because we feel how important they are to our progress. And I can tell you a lot of interesting stories about what we have gone through in all these gatherings. There's one in particular that really stands out. We had this situation in the 10 where there was a certain friction between two friends, and this friction that the 10 thought it was already gone and buried many years ago. It was not on anyone's mind. It was just like, yeah, we already handled that, and all of a sudden we get together and we have this amazing weekend together. And at the end, after we have this peak of this connection, it turns out that there's a certain friction between the two friends, and the 10 did not know about it. It's just been buried this whole time, and had we not gathered, it would have just stayed buried. It would have just been there, just eating away from it from the inside, and we wouldn't even know that there's a problem in the tent. But then it became revealed, and we were able to cover everything with love, to bring, a new state of love and connection between the friends, and completely fix those past broken relationships and come out as a stronger 10. And it's specifically thanks to this type of gathering, we are mostly a virtual 10, that most of our connections throughout the week are virtual. Had we not gotten together that time physically, we would never have overcame that situation. And that's just one story. I could share probably a million more of such stories of how these types of gatherings every single time have allowed us to come closer together and reveal things that would have been impossible to reveal otherwise. So we're very excited for the upcoming Congress, and we can't wait to connect in the 10 and see you all there as well. Time York's time. Thank you, New York 2. And last one, Seal, please tell us about your gatherings. So also, we throughout almost 3 years, we didn't get a chance to have such a gathering, and we started getting impressions from friends, from other 10s. We heard Rar's words how important this action is, and we got such envy that we also have to jump into that degree. So we decided on a date, and we searched for a place, and also in the beginning of the preparations, we know how much the exertion builds the 10. We set up in teams, and no one came as a guest. Everybody came with a role, a duty towards this Congress, and it already built a special feeling how it's building our connection, strengthening our connection. And we got to this place that we booked, and obviously there's a Congress. We decided the schedule. We built it all according to the character of our 10. And the special thing is what's revealed as we go. Suddenly, you see the friends differently. You see the friends' devotion in a way you didn't see it before, and it couldn't be revealed this way before. And this disconnection going out to different place, to enter this bubble that is only ours. It's hard to explain. We talked about it in the 10 yesterday, what this can give us. And many friends said, I can't explain it in words. It's a new feeling. It's a new quality, like in the clip by Rush that he was speaking about. Quality. It's a new quality and the connection that without it we wouldn't attain it. And thank God we have such a strong society that pushed us in that direction, and we reached a new degree that remains with us. It just keeps going from here and gets bigger and bigger. Alex will add to, when we got into the convention of the tent, it was after a big shake-up that the 10 went through. Several friends even thought about dismantling the 10 and just leaving together. It gave us so much strength, so much importance, so many examples of friends that after that meeting, you cannot say I'm Alex, I'm PT32, this is how it feels. So after our convention, we went into the big convention with great strength, and that gave us the strength to deal with states after the Congress. So the importance of it is just beyond description. Thank you, friends. Tells us in excerpt number 1, according to what is written, it turns out that when the friends gather in one place, the assembly is certainly for a purpose. since when one allocates part of his time which he would use for his own needs, relinquishing his engagements, and partaking in an assembly, he wishes to acquire something. Thus, it is important to try that when each of the friends goes home, he should see, now we wouldn't get into a workshop where we build for ourselves. Practical framework of this gathering. We will talk about where, when, how, for how long, how exactly it will happen. Perhaps we are at great distances, and the only possibility is to convene virtually. So this is considered our where. Now we want to have workshop in the tens where we decide together, and the emphasis is on together, where we will meet. Maybe we already have a place. Maybe we still need to look for how long do we want to meet. We said the Congress is 3 days long. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What does our 10 want to do? From Friday to Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Saturday, Sunday. What exactly do we decide? And if possible, to begin to summarize what roles we have, what teams we need, who will man this team, that team. We have 8 minutes for this, please. Yeah, it's worth having this discussion when the whole town is here, but maybe we should start talking about it and take decisions at the end, everyone, together. Actually, we're already started talking about part of these things. I think we agreed that we're going to go for a night and maybe more. If not, correct me. So 24 till 36 hours, something like that. We'll try and find a place that will be pleasant and good, that the 10 can on one hand cleanse itself from our day-to-day schedule, but we also know that there's friends with a lot of limitations, and we have to take that into consideration. But all in all, there's good spirits towards this action. The 10 is connected. We're curious to what's going to be, and we have to keep going in our preparation. Yeah, we already started talking about it. If we even have 2 friends who started looking for a place. We also had a survey in the tent to see what conditions like sleeping, conditions suitable for each friend. We want to be considerate of everyone's needs and not to do it too far from, because some friends have all kinds of corporal conditions where they might have to go back home and then come back to us. So, we want to be considerate of all the friends so everyone can participate in this Congress, and that nothing will obstruct them. This is number 1. We also said we would be there for at least one night, together. We need to think of teams. What teams we need. I think the most important is the cooking team. What will be the food? What will be the menu, drinks? What we want. We also need to build a schedule. Also content team. What we're going to discuss. The main purpose of the Congress is to go deeper into the 10. How will we come out with a deep, strong connection? As their friends were saying, yeah, we need to find out what condition what content we want to have there. And most important is to organize it in such a way that all the obstructions will remain outside. We will be able to have that meeting that friends talked about before. They gave the examples from all over the world to feel the creators between us. We will build it together, that we have a special opportunity to do it and to make the most of it. We started thinking, we're checking our possibilities. Also, it's important in the preparations, I guess, in the Zoom meetings who are going to start talking about it and preparing. I think we should break up into teams according to people's tendencies. There's friends that are good at organizing. They know how to organize everything that belongs to actual physical things, and it's easier for them, so they should deal with that. There's friends that have more tendency to content, so we have to see where each one is the most beneficial. But still, make sure that first we see about, let's say, the content in the Zoom meetings, to see how we gradually build this best possible thing about content. What I heard is that after we already have the content of the lesson, so around that, we're going to build everything we're actually going to do there. Well, first of all, I'm really excited about this meeting of the 10, looking forward to it. I think it's a great opportunity to strengthen and bring the friends closer to each other, so the hearts will connect more and the connection will be more internal and more spiritual. The main work here should be on content, to see how we use every moment in order to bring the 10 to the next spiritual level. and all the technical details are less of a problem to determine besides sleep, which we'll work on, but everything else is more simple, is simpler. The main thing is to see in terms of content how we create a convention of them and where everyone's hearts will open. We also talked about collecting topics that attendants want to scrutinize, that maybe they were going to have time, free time, and also maybe a limitation that we could go longer if we have a need. So on one hand, the teams we have to be divided in the teams, but also then it's good that one who is going to go cook is also going to deal on what article we're going to read. So for the organization, we should divide, but for the spirits, we should all also be concerned about the content and what they eat. We're moving to the next part, and the question we will soon ask is a little more practical about each and every 10. It's the next stage, and the excerpt we're going to read by Rush is about the agenda of the assembly. Rapper said this: we should know that 2 is the least plural. This means that if 2 friends sit together and contemplate how to enhance the importance of the creator, they already have the strength to receive an enhancement of the greatness of the creator in the form of awakening from below. And for this act, the awakening from above follows, and they begin to have some sensation of the greatness of the creator. So now, friends, we want to feel the greatness of the creator, but we want it to be practical for our 10, so each 10 knows itself very well. And before we run into what we do, whether we're having or somehow, that we want to ask what is important for us to happen in this convention, but not generally connection. Of course, that's a framework, but practically each 10 knows itself. For example, we want that after our meeting there will be greater attendance in the morning lessons, or we want that when we have a problem or some challenge, it will be resolved much more quickly in our 10. Of course, we can also say we want not to get into the lift line without preparing ourselves well before, like says all kinds of practical challenges of each 10, which the 10 knows itself. So we want to get that in this convention and from this convention onward. So now our challenge is, let's share it with the friends. What is very important for me that will happen? What is very important to me that will happen in our meeting? We're asking you to really try to define and depict our as tangible purpose as possible, and speak not in general. 6 minutes, 8 minutes. In the 10, we have a lot of friends with all kinds of corporeal disturbances that are very strong, that even prevent a part of them from coming to the morning lesson. So I thought about our purpose, that we'll go with such greatness of the goal that each one will just be above all those disturbances and won't even be felt as disturbances, that each one will get so many forces from the 10 and importance that they'll be able to overcome everything. Yes, I agree with Danny, and also the attendance in the morning lesson, that it will be higher, like said, that we'll start feeling each other more without being together physically, that the connection will become more internal, and that we will see that each friend has a role in this event and everyone's participating in it. There are content spots, there are meals, lessons, there's plenty to incorporate yourself in. In my eyes, the most important is that everyone will participate. Each one will do his part, so we can really come out of there with something. I thought that it can be that we find a few topics that we will even discover that we don't agree, that purpose should be that we use this time that we'll be together, that we can scrutinize challenges that we had and cover them with love, that it'll be enough time for us to increase the goal and connect in a way that it will cover it. It's taking care of challenges, so it can be very beneficial. I started talking about it before, so I'm not sure what to add him. I think that we need to see how we are not afraid of scrutinizing together, and how above all the disputes, all the differences, we can advance and scrutinize and talk about the next degree, the +1 that there is in the tent, and how we can strengthen each other more, so that all the friends will have greatness and strength and importance in the Congress itself, and on a day-to-day basis in lessons, to have a desire and the excitement about implementing, and the participation is important. We should check with all the friends what they are able to do, how they can participate, and from there to build a format where we're sure they're in more activities, even if they can't come for the whole week. So still to find the framework that we can all gather during the lesson and the rest of the activities. The way we organise towards this action is also how we organise towards the risk of our tasks. Also the participation, the importance everyone has. Another thing we talked about between us is that it's important for us to learn how to take decisions in the tent. Not just decisions, but spiritual decisions. I think that we're trying, but we don't always have enough time to continue the discussion and in the end get the answer from the Creator. And here at the Congress, we will be together for several days and will truly be able to experiment in that and feel each other more and understand how we can truly reach decisions. I'm not expecting corporeal actions that are directing us now. I don't know. Like every Congress, there's a goal. We want to connect together, draw the light. That'll give us forces, and the rest has to be a result of that. I would like that this head of the 10 matter that talks about would be revealed in our 10. It's not clear to us as a 10 what it's about. What does being a head means? The head what does being the head mean? That each of us should develop this quality of being the one who cares about the 10. So this whole thing, that is it still not clear to us? I'm not expecting anything except for being able to organise everything we need in this world to be prepared. Okay friends, first of all it's very moving to hear a hall full of life and all the 10s working out their next stage. In our last workshop, we want to focus on how we will achieve the purpose of the Congress. We defined for ourselves all the objectives we want to achieve here. So, now let's talk about the how. Let's share what I would like to happen, and in times when there's no broadcast content, in those special times of our 10 that will build us where we can really get into the nitty-gritty tiny details of each one. Maybe a walk, maybe a meal. Just go for it. The whole image, yourself, everything depends on you. We have 6 minutes to be creative and build our convention. After that we will have a platinum. So, start thinking what you want to share with everyone. It all depends where we're going to be. And obviously the YESM is probably the central thing. Better to build every action, maybe, according to order of, to always start in the right and praise. Then maybe an issue we want to solve, some challenge we have, some opportunity to advance. One of the topics can be what we can make better in the 10 in our Zooms that, for a long time I wanted to change. Something maybe. Okay, and yeah, the meals. One depends on the other too. So, I'm also, place that maybe if we have a sauna there or something. 'Cause we never went to a sauna together. Having her in the sauna, it's a good thing. I think we can I hope we are at a place where you can go out to nature a little bit. So maybe we can take a short walk. But a walk, kind of a guided walk like we did in the Arbor, where you have these guiding questions for inner work all throughout the walk. And then we sit somewhere, and there's something to eat a little bit, and then we start talking. We discuss a certain topic in nature. Very freely. We open our hearts, and let the situation develop. Not when we're seated around the table, with air conditioning and all that, but just by going out of the routine and doing the scrutiny in a place that is not usual for us. This is number 1. Number 2, to bring in a lot of joy and confidence. That, so we come out of there super related, to try and create an atmosphere where each one has some time to think and to try and feel more that. It's like I have a memory of the Congress that always gave an opportunity to go deeper also in feeling and also in thoughts, so I wouldn't burden with too many changes, but maybe to create some inner calmness where each one can gather inside to speak about important and sensitive topics, and again from such a good warm attitude with a good atmosphere, and again for the purpose that the 10s will be able to take care of their challenges better and be more connected. There aren't too many forms of connection. It's either a workshop or a why or maybe a walk. But the most important is our purpose. I actually think that before we divide into teams, we should have meetings about it and talk about it and scrutinise a purpose and what we want to do in between the lessons. What we want to achieve how and out of this build the form and the content. But to begin from the goal, the truth is we already started talking about it, but there are several points we need to scrutinize as a 10, and I think we should do that first, whether it's a walk in nature or just sitting in some corner somewhere. And you have to. I like the idea of the taking our trip. A walk. It could be something very good if it's built in a directed way with content, and also the sauna is something that can be great. Okay friends, we're very happy to feel the atmosphere in the world. Clay, here in the halls, are excited in preparation. So let's help each other be in a state where we excite each other and warm each other up. So now we want to do it in practice through a platinum and plenum is a chance for incorporation. We saw how much time gave gay friends to for questions. So switch on the question marks or raise your hands here. We want to hear a diverse platinum. It may be about special ideas that came up and you want to share. It may be about things you think we should strengthen and you want to bring them up. So we will think together how to deal with them. It may be about things that you would really like us to do during the preparation period in these coming weeks. So feel free to talk about everything that's connected to the 10th Congress. So we're waiting for your question marks, and we want to see friends here. We want to say something. I saw that in PT10 there was a lot of action. Right? True, or was I just imagining? So let's hear you guys. This topic is very necessary for our whole society. Our whole society is going through turmoil of this or that kind. We see it externally and internally in each one and all over the world. All kinds of obstructions, wars, etc. And also between us. We feel like the previous time is over and we're going into the time that all the capitalists dreamed about, and we need to think what is important for us. The friend or me. Should I be the head or should I connect to the friend? And all those things are painful, and we see that friends are missing here. Are we talking about it or not? Do we want to talk about it or not? How do we measure our connection? Will we be able to influence the world, disseminate to the world kinds of topics that come up? Now we have an opportunity. I'm dreaming that our whole society will build this 10. We are predicting, but we ourselves are in such disagreement. So how can we talk about people who don't connect and don't sit at the lesson? I'd like to see all over the world that we are getting stronger, and coming to the lesson is our basis. Coming to the meal, so we would see the hall as full as it was. We see what it was like, how many people were here, and what is the goal? What is our vision? Are we talking about spiritual attainment or talking about this or that person being the head? So I'm asking, we see that the management is leading this. So I'm asking, we must realize this vision between us, that we become people with attainment and the whole world will follow us. And that has to be the minimal goal of our connections. So now set a high standard. So we want to hear more friends' inspirations. Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. Yes. Thank you, friends. We want to have a practical exercise together to have the ability to connect. We are planning to take trips to go through the forests, and that every friend will bring his favorite excerpt that ignites him, that awakens him and pushes him in order to share it with all the friends. And when we discuss it, also friends said we should do rafting, get in a boat together through the river and connect through rowing together. Hello friends. Hello. Hello. We can't hear you well. Yeah, now we can. Microphone. We can't hear you. Well, fix your microphone. French. Hello world. We thought that because there's never been such an intimate congress like this one. We want to come closer to being like Abishimans. Turn in the cave. So we want to read this and there was an idea. I don't know if it's possible, but to succeed in all the 10s reading together, part of the Zor, connected at the same time to the whole earth. Latin, women spent time, women's Spanish time. Hello world. Thank you very much for giving us so much inspiration. For us, it's going to be a great privilege too. We are 7 friends and we are planning to take a trip, even though we're in different countries, and we had no doubt that we are going to meet in a city where our friend is. She can't travel because she has health issues, so we are going to travel to her and all meet together. For us, it's very important to have connection games, connect through music, we're also going to bring our children so they can be part of the connection of the 10. It's very strong for us to gather together physically to discover the Creator more and more. For this initiative, that we'll all be together. Our men, more friends want to share, please. Yes, we said that. We want to reach the spiritual degree, the mutual feeling, and feel closer, and that we can feel the request of the friend, that the friend has the same request that I do. And the challenge is to build a connection, to build a place we haven't decided where we will have a congress. There are many opinions. In short, there's already work on the congress. In overcoming, it's our first time. PT29. We really want you to go out together. Our PT1. We want to say that the most important thing is that we're all going to gather at one place at the moment we gather. Till the time we leave, we're going to have very high spirits in the 10s, and every friend is only going to be concerned and how to raise the spirits in the tent. Thank you. That's very, very true. From now on, we're going to deal with only one thing, the 10th convention. There's nothing else we want to talk about. All the meetings, all the lessons. Today we'll explain we're going to dedicate to this because the preparation is more important than the congress itself. We want to come to the congress. As Kay said, minimal, at least people with attainment. That's why we're building our next degree, so we always want to deal with our next degree of 10 and the world 10.